Congratulations! 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 You guys made a movie! Yo, what's up guys? SonicHaXD here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Mortal Kombat Legends Snowblind, the third movie in the Mortal Kombat Legends trilogy. This movie was written by Jeremy Adams again, but it is not directed by Ethan. Instead, this time it is directed by Rick Morales, who was the producer and the art department of the previous two movies. Now, the synopsis of this story is King Kano has taken over the wasteland, and Kenshi wants to stop him, and Kuai Liang is involved. Now, I'm sure after you heard that, you're thinking, hang on, hold up a second, hang the fuck on.
Hang the fuck on.
How the heck did we get from Battle of the Realms to this movie? Like, what? How does this connect? And the movie does explain that, but that is basically the synopsis of the movie. Now, interestingly enough though, this movie is based off of really nothing. The first movie is based off of MK1, the second movie is based off of MK2, but there really is nothing that this movie is based off of. Sure, there are MK lore bits placed here and there in this movie, but this is a very, very original plot in the MK series. Like, I can't really think of any other MK property that is this original. Maybe some of the cartoon TV shows, but even then, those are based off of like the first Mortal Kombat tournament or the second one. I will say that going into this, you will have a very unique MK experience. Anyways, let's get into more of the individual aspects about this movie, starting with the animation. I don't know why I'm doing this. Very, very apparent. This animation style is much more different compared to the previous two films. And obviously it's because of budget reasonings, or because Warner Brothers has been trying to go with a more similar art style with their other movies, I think, so that way they can produce them easier. With that being said though, I do think there are some uniquely interesting things that they do with the art style, whether it be for the character designs or like the oil painted backgrounds that do fit quite well with the wasteland aesthetic. All that being said though, I do still prefer the Scorpion's Revenge art style, but this isn't too bad either. The action is still great, but I don't know if it's better than Scorpion's Revenge. I think Ethan was still the better director in terms of action in that aspect, but I do like a lot of action scenes in this movie. They were still very exciting, and there were still very, very cool moments, so it wasn't like not enjoyable, and I think it's still very, very good. Now, the one compliment that I will give that I think is better than the previous two movies is the gore. This movie is probably the goriest movie in all the MK movies and series out there. Imagine the beginning of Scorpion's Revenge, but that's like almost every fight in this movie. It's just blood and parts all just splattered all around. I was actually a bit worried about not seeing that aspect because they didn't show any of that in the trailer. So I'm really happy to be proven wrong, but this movie is still very, very gory, which I think is a positive. There are some other things about the animation that I can't really get into that I have some issues, but I'll talk more about that in the spoilers. Now on to the characters, and oh boy, thank goodness I don't have to go through 20-ish characters just to decipher a couple of them that I like, because the whole entire movie is mainly focused on just two. So Kenshi is the main protagonist of this film, and he's very, very main character protagonist kind of a material. At least he starts off that way. He serves his purpose, he's fine. I do like some stuff that they do with him later on in the film, but overall he does just serve his purpose, and I think he's just fine. I might like him more the more I think about him, but for now he just serves his purpose and he's fine. And I repeated that 3 times, so shut the fuck up. Kuai Liang, on the other hand, I think is quite great in this movie. He's basically a beat down old man who's trying to retire his life and teaching the youngster how to survive in this cruel world. And I do like that. I think they do some pretty interesting things with Kuai Liang's character. There's some stuff about him I don't like, but it does require me to get into spoilers. But overall, I think he's one of the best characters in the Legends series. That's not saying much in my opinion, but I think that's a pretty good glow up, especially when you compare him to his Battle of the Realms self. I think he's way better than he was back then. Now, one last character I want to mention who is the secret MVP is King Kano. Kano! How is it that these modern MK movies can have so many problems and yet they somehow make Kano one of the best things about them? I don't know. It's It's a very weird thing. Kano has always been this like snarky little rat who always tries to fight dirty, and he's basically just this little thug. In this movie, while he does still retain that attitude of his, he is much more of a menace. Like, watching this movie, you really do see that this guy is not someone easy to mess with, and he even knows this. And that really makes him quite interesting. Because I don't think I've ever seen a Kano he feels like he's actually smarter, and he's literally like a raid boss in this movie. And there are things that I don't really want to talk about yet about him, but overall, like, I actually really did like King Kano. I thought he was much better than Shao Kahn from Battle of the Realms. Again, that's not really a high praise in my opinion, but I digress. Again, just like Kuai Liang, I do like the things that they do with King Kano, and I know there are some big things that happen with him in the third half, so we'll get to that when we get to that, but overall, I did like King Kano. I think it's a very interesting depiction of Kano that we've never seen before. And now let's get on to the plot. The plot is actually quite simple and easy to follow. I wasn't really confused as to how we got from point A to point B. It really is just a simple plot, and because of that, I've heard people say that this movie is boring. It's the most boring Mortal Kombat film, and I can actually agree with that sentiment. On a rewatch, I'm probably not going to be looking forward to watching some of those more dragged out scenes. Though I will say, at least for the first time when I watched it with my brother, we actually did laugh at some stuff. There was still some stuff that was enjoyable. It's really, really mid throughout the movie. It's very, very like solid and mid. No giant high points or giant low points. Everything that happens that's more exciting and interesting happens more on the third half of the movie. That's where things really ramp up or ramp down. And with that being said, I guess that's all I got to say right now that isn't spoiler related. So I'm gonna get into spoilers right now. If you don't want to hear any spoilers, then jump to my conclusion at this time to hear whether or not I recommend this film. Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Genuinely speaking, I think most of the interesting stuff does happen on the third half, but I'll try to see what I can remember during the first half. I liked seeing Kenshi get his ass whooped by a tremor. Thank goodness that freaking brat gets his shit beaten out of him. I enjoyed seeing that, so that way he became a lot more humble and actually kind of became more likable. I was kind of annoyed that Cabal never used his speed abilities throughout the movie. Only until like the last part of the movie you start using it. Like, really?
One thing I also wish they elaborated on better was the Revenants. King Kano stated that the Revenants are still around and that's why their resources are very scarce. Yet, other than the flashback, we never ever see these Revenants around this wasteland. I wish we got to see that to be able to understand like this part of the threat, but no, it's just mainly focusing on the Black Dragon as a threat.
Shang Tsung was interesting, and I guess he's the best he's been in this series, but I do feel like they really wasted him. Like, okay, don't get me wrong, I love the fight that he had with Kano and how brutally they murdered him. That is probably the best fatality scene in the whole entire Legends series, but I think his character was very wasted at the end of the day, which I get it, it's not really the point of him because the real villain is Kano. This whole plot is set up because Shang Tsung like betrays Kenshi, and it feels like Kenshi does want his revenge, and there's a big connection between him and Shang Tsung. Heck, that is one of the only connecting parts that is based off of the MK lore, and Shang Tsung just dies and Kenshi just completely forgets about his existence. I'll dive more deeper into this probably in my sucks video, but that's definitely something I don't enjoy. While I do enjoy the scene he gets executed, I think Shang should have lived or somehow run away. I feel like I wish he somehow like still stayed and like gave more plot, I suppose. I'll mention one thing I'm not the biggest fan about Kuai Liang. I like his depiction and what he does in the movie, but for his backstory about him losing control and killing his whole clan and the people in the city, yeah, that's serious, but I do wish he killed somebody more emotionally important to him. Like, I don't know, like he killed Smoke. I feel like we needed a personal character of his that he loved or cared about that died. Maybe they should have shown the Liu Kang, Sonya, and Johnny, their whole group getting killed by him, and then he feels very guilty. I would buy that a bit more. I feel like the traumatizing part about it wasn't traumatizing for me as the viewer. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but that's just kind of how I feel about him. Alright, let's just get to the final part of the movie, which is where things really ramp up and get super exciting and really bloody and gory, and like the action-packed shenanigans all happen there. I will say this, I've seen the reviews and I've heard plenty of people say that the ending sucks. I'm assuming it's because of the twist, but everything before that was freaking awesome. Kenshi trying to 1v5 all the Black Dragon characters and using his like Jedi sword abilities. I think that was all really great. Oh, poor Jarek. The moment Kano was like, Jarek, get him, I was like, oh, you poor baby. I thought that was hilarious. Sub-Zero freaking summons his boyfriend, Scorpion, who has a new glow-up design, and I must say that glow-up design does look pretty freaking badass, the Spawn Scorpion. I actually do like the new armor that Sub-Zero puts on for the final battle. It does look pretty cool. Yeah, that whole final battle, awesome. Like, just a gore fest, just a slaughter fest, just like fight. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot. Shoutouts to Farah, getting a couple of stabs into Sub-Zero. Great job, Farah. You did well before you died. I'm very proud of you. And fun fact, I think that's the first time Farah has officially ever died in Mortal Kombat, because you can never kill her in the games. So, I think Kira had some pretty good moments. I think Aaron Black had some cool shooties. Tremor was a threat, and I enjoyed seeing his fights. Those are pretty cool. And everyone else kind of just got their 3-second cameos before they died. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Cobra. Oh, Cobra fans, you poor innocent souls. I mourn for the dozen of you. And also, I actually really like how King Kano just 1v3s in the field and just like somehow can handle all of them. Like, he really is strong in this movie. Although I will say this though, this is one of these animation problems I did kind of have. At the end fight, when there was like a snow blizzard flurry going around, and it's a cool effect, but like the more I watch that, the more it's like I really can't see what's going on in this fight. It's like the blizzard is like blocking like whatever is going on. It did get kind of annoying. And then eventually King Kano like runs back into this tower. Scorpion fights Cabal. Kenshi fights Tremor. A bit of a nitpick, I guess. Tremor has like lava-y hands, and he does burn like the Sento sword and somewhat like Kenshi's face. Does it really take 30 seconds to burn off somebody or something? Because like you really took your time burning off Kenshi's face. Like, come on now, you could just melt him off. Like, look at Scorpion, he burned Cabal in just a couple of seconds. But now we move on to the big twist. Now, the moment I saw Kronika's skull with the crown, I literally screamed. I was like, ah! Can you believe that? Oh my gosh, no way! Oh my god!
What did I say?
Oh, I can't believe this. That was something so insane that I genuinely did not think they would go there. And they still go there. The Legends movies really love ending their movies with a bang that I think many people do not appreciate. I'll start with this though. This ain't worse than the One Being ending. The One Being ending got pulled out of someone's ass and just splattered onto the movie and be like, look at this amazing ending. They just did that because they wanted to do that. Now, you know, I don't really know how to say this, but yes, I am the biggest Kronika hater. Yes, I don't wish to see her portrayed in these movies. But, and the more that I think about it, of course, maybe I'll change my mind eventually. I don't hate that twist. Like, oh jeez, I don't know. I can hear Obi-Wan saying you're the chosen one. You were supposed to go against them, not join them or something. Yeah, I know, but like, to me, I don't hate this twist because it was kind of set up throughout the whole entire movie. This whole movie was literally built on this twist. For the whole entire movie, you're wondering, how do we get from Battle Realms to here? How is it like there's a wasteland? How is Earth ruined? How is Kano so OP? And when the answer is Kano got the hourglass, and literally this movie is Kano's arcade ending from Mortal Kombat 11, like this all kind of like ties a knot to complete this whole story in a way. I really hope I'm not making the hard take by saying that I actually somewhat think this is an okay twist. What's the alternative? Okay, no hourglass. How do you explain how Earth got ruined? How do you explain how Kano got so OP? Like, this whole thing is set up because of Kano somehow getting the hourglass. Yes, it doesn't make sense, and they never explain how Kano gets the hourglass, or how the heck does he even defeat Kronika. But for the sake of this movie, I do think it works. Now, if you're the kind of person who hated that twist because you hate Chronica, you hate everything related to her, you hate the Hourglass, 100% understandable. I genuinely cannot rebuttal that. I hate Chronica. She is the worst character in MK history. But I don't think this twist is that bad because this whole movie was set up for it. You know, unlike the one being, which is just like, we plop it in at the end. It makes sense. You see subtle hints throughout the movie that Kano somehow has been doing this. And I think it also makes sense for Kano's character because in the arcade ending, Kano stated that he doesn't want to be immortal. He wants to have a challenge.
Now what I want is always just out of reach. I gotta earn it. I score lots of wins, but not always. And when I do win, it's something to savor.
And that's why he can be defeated in this movie. And that's why he's also kind of shocked about Kenshi and Kuai Liang's involvement, because for the amount of times he's repeated this cycle, these two are new things that happen. I don't know, I don't hate it. I wonder if that's gonna be a hot take, because I feel like a lot of people are expecting me to really shit on this part of the movie. Now, the thing that happens afterwards, I hate more, but we'll get to that later.
Two more things I'd like to add. For one, I definitely can see this Hourglass thing being something that really messes up the previous two Legend series as for their involvement with this movie. It's because when you know that King Kano has been resetting the universe multiple times, it kind of makes you feel like, what's the point of the past two movies? It kind of makes you feel like, well, why should I care about these characters in the past two movies when they're just gone now? Just reset it so many times. And I can see that being a complaint. But for me, I kind of view this movie as a multiverse, a what-if scenario. I think through those lens, it does make it better. I like the idea of the creators just saying, what if we take Kano's arcade ending and just expand a movie based off of that? And I do like that idea and creativity. But I can definitely see how this kind of messes up the previous two Legends movies and how that would piss people off. I definitely can see the Force Snake hating this part of the movie, and I'm actually really excited to chat with other people about this movie. And the other thing I'd like to mention is, I know for the majority of people who watch this movie probably play through MK11, but I bet it'd be so confusing for people who have never played MK11 to see that Hourglass. Think of it 10-20 years down the road, like someone just decided, I'm gonna go watch some Mortal Kombat Legends series and see what that was all about, and then they see this Hourglass twist and I'll be like, what the fuck what is this thing going, what is this twist going on here? I just imagining that just seems really funny.
Let me end off by saying, I think the Sub-Zero versus King Kano fight at that Chronica arena was the best fight in the movie. Like, it was freaking awesome. I love just seeing them literally jump to the background and start using those twirly things that are just there for decoration in MK11 and somehow fight in them and somehow use that to kill King Kano. Like, all of that was pretty awesome in my opinion. And I also do like the ice arm that Kuai Liang grows out of himself. Now is the part where I actually really dislike. I'm pretty certain that the majority of people who say they don't like the ending is the fact that Chronica is involved whatsoever. But the part that I dislike, when they destroyed the crown, I feel like there are way more positives in resetting the universe than continuing it. Sub-Zero, you even saw your arcade ending through the Hourglass. Do you not want your brother back? Do you not want the world to be sort of in a better place than it is right now? At the end of the movie, when they destroy the crown, and when they're like, they won, I literally felt like that one scene from the SpongeBob where he talks to Patrick with like the burning city around them, where he's like, we did it, Patrick! We saved the city! That's literally how I felt. You have the option to reset and make the world a better place, but you decide, nah, the world will be better eventually. We'll fix it without the Hourglass. I don't know, I think that was kind of dumb. And then after that is things get really confusing where Sub-Zero is like, I leave everything to you, Kenshi. You're the Lin Kuei. I have a promise. I'm gonna hang out with my boyfriend in Netherrealm now. Bye! Oh, I forgot to mention, my powers are too great. I need to go to Netherrealm to die or something. I don't know. Bye! Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. I do think it's kind of funny that throughout the movie, Kuai Liang's struggle is not that he is, oh, I'm oppressed. Like, I cannot use my powers against King Kano and stuff like that because I don't want to endanger myself. I want to survive. I want to live. No. His struggle is, I'm too powerful. I'm so damn OP that I don't want to use my abilities. I do find that to be kind of funny.
One thing I want to add about Kuai Liang's character is he kind of transitions into the main character in the third act, where it's not him teaching Kenshi this time, it's now Kenshi getting Kuai Liang to come out of his shell and to use his abilities. And I actually did kind of like that aspect about Kuai Liang's character.
And then the movie ends. Yeah, I don't like that part of the ending. I actually do think that's kind of annoying to me. But like, yeah, I don't mind too much about the Chronica twist. Maybe later on, if I really think about it, I'll mind more about it. But I'm kind of okay with it right now. What can we expect after this? I generally think we're gonna get the Combat Kids. You're setting up the fact that Kenshi is making the Lin Kuei, so I do think that is what's going to be happening. Like, he's gonna form the Combat Kids, which is very confusing because where is Sonya, Johnny, Jax, and you know, all the relatives who will have these kids? And I guess Onaga will be the next villain. Anyways, that's all I got for spoilers. Now onto my conclusion. I always bring this up whenever I mention my gripes with the Legends series, and that is, there are too many characters that I don't care about. I don't like the fact that they keep splitting the plot into subplots, and I don't like the tournament rules. In Scorpion's Revenge, I did not care about the characters. I did not like the fact that they split the Earthrealm plot with the Scorpion plot, and at the end they kind of just forced them together to make that ending. I didn't like that. And I really fucking hated the bullshit tournament rules in Scorpion's Revenge. In Battle of Realms, you have 20-ish characters. You have too many characters in there. And while yes, I did like Raiden, but that's about it out of the 20-ish characters. And then you have an even more convoluted subplot with the tournament and the Lin Kuei and just mishmashing together and then to the one being. That's all pretty bad. And while the tournament rules are bad, the fights in the tournament were kind of bad. But in Snowblind, well, first off, there is no tournament. And second, they only have one main plot, and it's about Kenshi and Kuai Liang. And there are only mainly these two characters, so that they can just focus on them and develop them, and I think that's great. I always, in my reviews, just keep saying, you guys don't do good subplots. Just try to focus on one plot instead. Try to focus on individual characters. And that's what this movie is. And I'm touched. I feel like they listened to me, and I'm shedding a tear. Overall, I feel like this movie was kind of like, it had some good stuff, it had some bad stuff, and it had a lot of mid stuff. Like, it had a lot of just okay, solid stuff. I think the general opinion about this movie is very mixed. I've seen people who like this movie, I've seen people who dislike this movie, and in my opinion, I think I saw this tweet that basically sums up my opinion, and it says, it's actually not bad. Like, that's how I kind of feel about this movie. It's not bad. It's a bit above average. A 6 out of 10, if you will. And unlike my Battle of Realms review, where I was literally blinded by the hate for Scorpion's Revenge, so that's why I only looked at the good stuff about that. But when really reviewing it, I'm like, this is genuinely just worse than Scorpion's Revenge. Whereas in this movie, I do think that the stuff that works in this movie worked better compared to the previous two. I think this is the best Legends movie. In general, I think the biggest issues about this movie, it's not the ending per se, I think it's the cringy dialogue, because there are some that are just kind of annoying and be like, really, you would say that kind of stuff? And how it does kind of drag at parts. But the fact that you're able to do an MK story where I can say it's somewhat decent, like, that's amazing to me. That really makes me touched. Like, nowadays, it's a miracle if an MK story can actually be somewhat decent. I feel like the ending of Silver Lining Playbook, where the main characters are like doing the dance, and the judges give them a 5 out of 10, and they just start celebrating and screaming, yeah, 5 out of 10, while the judges will be like, what's so special about that? So yeah, I would recommend this movie if you want an interesting MK experience, because this is literally nothing we've seen before that I think it's worth watching. And if you're wondering if I'm gonna do a sucks video, for sure. There's so much material, so much to digest. I do think I can talk about the ending for about 20 to 30 minutes just because of how much there is to talk about there. And that's my review of Snowblind. I sorta liked it. I hope that's not a big hot take. Alright, and welcome back to the annual. I'm gonna rant about Reptile not being in the Legends movie again. So if you don't know, essentially TLDR, that was Reptile in the first movie, so I wanted him to show up in the second movie. He does not, and he still does not show up in this movie. And neither does Melina, when Melina was promised in Battle of the Realms, and then she doesn't show up in this movie again. And one of the big characters characters I'm still very shocked that has not made an appearance is Ermac. Like, think about that. Somehow, Cobra, freaking Draman, and No Face show up before Ermac and Melina. Think about that. Honestly, there's a part of me that does feel like I'm just having copium for Reptile to ever appear again in this series. Unless he shows up again, I'm kind of just content and just saying that that was Reptile in the first movie. It's fine. Although I do have one sliver of hope, especially after this movie. I'll give like a 10-second like semi-spoiler here.
I'm gonna spoil something now, so if you don't hear it, then skip to this part. 3, 2, 1.
They have done every single villain in the MK universe, except for Onaga. And Reptile is needed to form Onaga's body. So that is the only teeny bit of hope I have left. The only copium I have for Reptile to eventually show up in this franchise again. But yeah, there's my Reptile rant. Hope you guys enjoyed it as usual. I'm literally the only person who cares about this, but hey, I'm caring about you Melina stands out there. Alright, and that's the review. Thank you all so much for watching. And remember, justice is blind. Ha! Congratulations! You guys made a surprising movie! Clickbait, motherfucker. Please don't mess up Matt Murdock in the MCU. Please don't mess up Daredevil in the MCU. Please don't.